Hello there! Today I bring you a bit of a different video. If you're here for books, you will be disappointed because there won't be any. But today, as it's Easter and it's bunny time, as I like to say, I thought I would talk about my house rabbits. A lot of people I find it very bizarre when I say I've got house rabbits. It's considered a sort of kooky thing. And yes, they do take over your life, but I would definitely recommend house rabbits for the older people. I would firstly say that I definitely don't recommend rabbits for children. I think it's very sad that pet shops advertise them as the perfect pets for children. Rabbits are a very interesting and unique pet in the fact that you very much have to come to them on their terms. You can't, with us, we don't pick these rabbits up. I did previously have a long-haired rabbit who I groomed every day, but that was the only time I would pick her up. And obviously to groom their nails and things, but other than that, if you just come to them in their own time, you sort of take your time with them. These are rescue rabbits, and when we first got them, Spud, who is this one over here, was quite nervous, but he was better at letting us stroke him and things because he's a bit older. I think he's more chilled. Whereas Bluebell, who you can see hiding behind the litter box there, she was very skittish. She could see that Spud was getting strokes and she wanted them, but she was too nervous to join in. And she is now excellent. She now comes over for strokes as well. But it's a very slow process. There's Spud having a bit of breakfast there. You have to very much come to them slowly and let them get used to you. I wouldn't recommend picking rabbits up as a general rule, no matter how docile your rabbit is. And they don't get much more docile than Spud here. He is just a big lump of a bunny. They don't like being picked up just because it's not in their nature. Anything that swoops down on them from above and scoops them up is going to eat them. So the most docile bunny will get nervous when being picked up. So they're definitely not for children. Children don't understand that sometimes you have to take your time and let the bunny work you out first. Obviously, they just want to go in for strokes. We've all been there. We all know how it is to be a child. And I would say that rabbits are probably the worst pets for children. And people do wonder why their rabbits end up scratching and biting their children. That's why, because the rabbit sees the child as a predator. But other than that, I would say rabbits are the perfect pets for adults, especially adults with a lot of time and patience. They're harder than dogs, I would say, in the sense that you very much have to learn bunny language. And as I say, it's very much on their terms. But when they actually love you and accept you, it is the greatest gift because you know you've worked for that love. I would say that rabbits make an excellent house pet. I wouldn't recommend keeping them in a cage. They're very interactive rabbit pets. They love affection and like being around people, surprisingly enough, once they get used to you. And I wouldn't recommend keeping a rabbit as an individual pet. However, I did have an individual rabbit. You have to spend a lot of time with them if they're on their own. That said, I wouldn't recommend just picking up any two rabbits from a pet shop. Actually, the reason a lot of rabbits fight is because the rabbit bonding process is quite a difficult one. These two were bonded at the foster home. I wouldn't personally try bonding rabbits myself. It's a lot like human beings, really. You can't just shove two together and expect them to love each other. They will fight. What you have to do is quite a slow process of putting them together in the smallest confined space you can get. A lot of rabbits just won't get on with each other. I know Bluebell, who you can't quite see anymore over there, she doesn't like this filming malarkey. She actually went, I think, with 5 other males before she found Spud, and she didn't like any of them. So it's very much a trial and error process. You can't just buy a rabbit and expect them to get on with each other because it's not going to happen, and that's why rabbits fight. But they should be kept together, and once you've got a bonded pair, it's pretty hard for that bond to break. Spud, he is neutered, they're both neutered, but sometimes he gets a bit amorous with Bluebell, and she never has any of it. It's more of a dominance thing, to be fair. She does it to him as well sometimes, but especially when there's food involved and things like that, he will try and get on top of her. However, it's never turned into a full-blown fight because they are already bonded. They already have a love for each other. And as I say, it's quite hard to break that bond. If I was to take one of them away from the other one and they spent some time in a different place or came back with a different scent, that is the only really place where there would be a break of the bond. Or if one of them went to the vets, they both have to go because the separation and the difference in smell would cause possibly problems. But other than that, it's pretty hard to break a bond. As I say, these two have little scuffles every now and again, but it never turns into a fight. It's just a case of they chase each other around, mainly Spud chasing Bluebell around, though sometimes she does get ideas. But that's just a dominance thing, and it's really just the way it is. I mean, it's sad, but he is the dominant male, and so when there's food involved, he gets her out the way, and he has his share first. But she doesn't seem that bothered by it, to be fair. Generally, she gives as good as she gets a lot of the time. I would say that you have to make a big change of your life for house rabbits. As you can see, this is basically the dining area of my house, and it is completely taken up by rabbits. They've got their cage there, which they're never locked in. It's just got their litter tray and their hay area. What I would say is that the reason I think rabbits are perfect house pets is because they completely train themselves. Rabbits are very clean anyway, so say they would be in a warren in the wild, they would always wee in the one place or poo in the one place. Generally they don't do that where they're sleeping. They're quite clean naturally. So if you just put a litter tray, I mean, I don't know about these two, they were already trained, but with my other rabbit, I just put a litter tray in the room. I sort of didn't know how to train her because she was my first rabbit, so I left her to it a bit, and she completely trained herself. She even started using the litter tray on her own, and she was a baby when I got her, so it was completely natural. If you just put it in a corner of the cage, generally they will go in it. These two tend to actually wee where the loose hay is there. They don't tend to wee in the litter tray. That tends to be their eating hay, but that doesn't really make a difference. As you can see, also toys. Toys are very important for rabbits. If they get bored, they get destructive. I'll show you the destruction in a minute. I don't have as many toys as I would like. The trouble is a lot of toys that you buy in the shop are very expensive and don't often get used. That little wooden curve, for example, that cost about 10 quid, and they never chewed it really, although they have the past few days, so we'll see. And yes, I would say that it's better to sort of make your own toys for them, to be honest, which I don't spend enough time doing. But the toys that you get in shops are so expensive and they don't often actually bother with them. They prefer things like toilet roll, piece of wood, cardboard they love, though I'm sceptical about giving my rabbits cardboard just because I don't think it's the best for them. I give it to them every now and again. They used to have a blue cardboard box all the time, which they loved to hide in. That's another thing. Rabbits love a enclosed space that they can sleep in. As you can see, we've got the bottom of the cupboard there that they tend to go in, although they don't love it because it's got a hard bottom, but I tried putting a towel in there and that got eaten, so no. But I don't really give them cardboard box anymore just because I don't like that they do actually eat it, and I don't think it's the best for their bellies, although rabbits are surprisingly good at keeping things down that they shouldn't. As you can see, there are various chews in the carpets. I will show you the worst of them in a minute. But they are pretty good at processing these things, which is strange because they're notoriously bad with their digestion, but they can eat pretty much a lot of things and not get that ill from it. Though I wouldn't like to test the theory. I think eventually it does get too much and they can get blockages. And rabbits are a grazing animal, so they have to constantly be eating hay or something just to keep their digestion moving. If they go a few hours without any hay, they can get very ill. Their gastric system starts to shut down. This is called GI stasis. It's very serious. As soon as you see that your rabbit, say in the morning you give them breakfast, they aren't eating it, take them straight to the vets. That means they've got gastric stasis. If a rabbit is not hungry, you know there's something wrong. They are always ravenous. And if they're not, as I say, it could be serious. So blockages and things like that stop them from eating and are obviously very serious and need to be treated straight away. A rabbit can go from being perfectly healthy to dying within a matter of hours. And then I will show you their little hidey hole. This is the living room area of my house. Excuse my bag on the floor there. And this is their little hidey hole. Now, as you can see, this was a lovely rug once. Mainly Spud's work. He has chewed a little Spud and Bluebell sized hole in it so that they can both sit in there. That's where they sit to sleep and things now that they haven't got cardboard boxes. And this rug, I would rather he didn't eat it, but I'm not too worried because it's quite fibrous. And the fibres he tends to just chew up and leave on the side. I would rather he hadn't eaten it, but I can't stop him, so that's that. When we first got these two, we did have this bit sectioned off here, and they couldn't get over there. because they're very notorious for chewing wires. People say that, and people think that it's just going to be a case of their rabbit will chew a wire if they come across them. That is not true. The magnetic impulses in the wire will actually attract a rabbit, and they will do anything they can to get to that wire. However, these two are very scared of the wooden floor. Rabbits like to be able to flee, therefore they do not like having something slippery under their feet, so it's quite okay. They only go on the rug, which is perfect. So I just wanted to introduce you to the rabbits, really, and sort of talk a bit about them. I think it's so important. Rabbits are a very misunderstood animal, and I think it's important to get the message out there that they are not the animal that they are marketed to be, and they are an amazing and very rewarding pet to have if you can put the time and effort into them, and if you are old enough to understand their needs. And I would say at this time of year, obviously, it's excellent this year. A lot of pet shops have made a rule that they are not selling rabbits over the Easter period. But obviously, if you do get a rabbit or give a rabbit for Easter, please, please acknowledge that they are not just for Easter. Bye, everybody.